Hi, thank you for joining us for Repurposed Books. Today's project is a repurposed book planter, and this is what our final product looks like. We love these. The library, this sits out on the counter, and a lot of the patrons come by and take a look at it, and they love how clever. It adds a little touch of greenery to the desk, and just all around fun. So go ahead and check out the supply list in the descriptions and the comments. Gather all your products together. This is a project that's done in a couple of stages. So we'll move on to first stage, kind of our setup of how this book can be prepped, and then second part of getting our planter together. So get your supplies and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we have a few of our supplies together, and this is our first step of 2 steps of how to create our book planter. Something you have to think about whenever you're picking out your book is you do need something that's a book that's at least an inch thick. Otherwise, you're not going to have room for your plant to grow, obviously. So the second important thing is that you have to think about how you want your book to look on your counter or your coffee table or whatever. And many books have just a blank solid cover once you get under the book art cover. So that's a little bit of a difficulty if you just want a blue book or a red book or something that's the color of the room that you're putting this in. Easy breezy there. But if you're wanting it to be symbolic of something or say something specific or have a certain look to it, you're gonna have to be a little pickier and probably look a little harder for that said book. So the first thing is, obviously, we're gonna take our cover pages off. Second step is we are going to just simply glue all the sides together so that it's not flapping open, because if it were to do that, your plant pot is just gonna fall apart. So it is simply just pouring the glue on. If you're lucky and at home and you have some type of a vice grip device, that is perfect to do all 3 sides and just let it dry. That's what I'm lucky enough to have at home. If not, do a side, let it dry, come back in an hour, do another side, let it dry, come back in an hour, so forth. So a little bit of time there. Also be thinking again about what plant you're going to put in this. I typically have a vision of what kind of plant I want, or I buy the plant and then I get the book. So I've got a pretty good plant here, pretty good size. So I did need, in fact, a much thicker book to make this happen. So go ahead and have your book, have your plant, go ahead and glue your sides and have an idea of where you're cutting your plant space at. I know I'm going to do mine right here. So the next steps is to get your utility knife. Little bit about utility knives. If you have a knife that's similar to this is not going to work. This is a lot to get through here, and so you are going to need a true utility, heavy-duty knife to cut this, and it's going to need to be sharp. And this is one of the few parts of the repurposed book that is not child-friendly. This takes some time and effort, strength, and a super sharp knife. So go ahead and glue your book and get your utility knife, your plant ready, and your plastic wrap, and we'll come back for that last part. Okay, so we have our book glued on all sides and the cover glued down as well. And now we're going to cut our spot for our plant. I'm gonna stand up here because I gotta put a little muscle into this, but you're simply going to take your utility knife and cut your space out. Now you might want a rectangular, circle, square. I'm just gonna go with a simple square, and of course, as always, you're gonna be super careful with this, and you're just going to slice into your book. And again, this is not a child's, of course, you know, I have to think about where my arm is at all times as well. This is not a job for the children to be involved with. But once you get this part, they can come back into this project. So just turning and cutting, turning and cutting. And Now, of course, you can always make your spot larger, but you can't go smaller once you work this through. So, you might even draw out your spot ahead of time as well if you really want straight, perfect lines. If you've watched the other Repurposed books, you know that I'm more of a wing it with the art kind of person. So again, do not be surprised when this takes a little bit of time, especially for that cover. They are very, very thick. Okay, so almost. And once you get that cover out, the rest becomes pretty easy. And maybe you chose a paperback, then you know you were finished with this a long time ago. So there's my cover. And now I'm just going to keep cutting down, down, down through the pages. And you're gonna probably be able to slice through, maybe 6 to 10 pages at a time. That's okay. You're just going to keep at this and they just come right out. And we don't need to worry about how perfect it is because our plant is gonna go down in here. So no one's going to see this. They are going to see that top part. And what I like to do is after I've got going, I'll come along and clean these edges up just a little bit more. So we're gonna stop this part and you're gonna work. This is gonna take 10, 15 minutes to keep digging this part out. Probably gonna have to give your arm a break. So we'll see you back for that last part where we plant our plant. Okay, welcome back. I'm glad you're back. You survived that cutting. It's a bit of a lot to cut that all out, but I promise it's well worth it in the end. So we have our hole now in our book, and we're just gonna take a little bit of plastic wrap, any kind will do, and we're going to just lay that over that hole. And what that's gonna do is help trap in the moisture when you water your plant, obviously, and then it won't go throughout the whole book. When you take your plant out, just as when you're transplanting anything, you'll loosen up your roots a little bit and then place your plant in. And you're gonna use some of that soil to kind of pack it in. And then you're going to simply trim your plastic here with scissors. And of course, water your plant. And I have a big mess here, so I won't pick this one up quite yet, but I'll remind you of what our other looks like. And we just water it every few days. It's a succulent, so you know they don't need much, but please be sure to take a photo of your book planter and post it in the comments. We'd love, love, love to see what you made as well. And thank you for joining us.